Welcome, everybody. Glad you're being here. Thank you for joining us today. Today, we're going to go into a channel here pretty quick, but I do have Kathy and George with me here. Say hi, Kathy. Welcome.
Hello. Hi, nice to be here.
Great. We got George from Greece as well. George will be with us, working with us here too. Hi, George.
Hello, everybody. I hope everybody is going to have a nice time.
Yeah, we will.
Thank
We
you,
will.
Steve.
Good. I want to welcome everybody and tell you that if you're enjoying this, please subscribe to the channel. Just hit that subscribe button. That way you'll be notified every time we do this, and you'll find a little more information about that. And we look forward to that. We also have at the website at steverother.org, we have the free Backstage pass that you can get, which gets you into all the free events that we do at steverother.org at the Espavo organization. So I'm very excited to have moved our website into this new process and the things we're doing here. I'm very happy with it, and thanks to an incredible team that we have, including George and Kathy, Nick and Allie and Debbie, and oh my God, I hope I don't forget anybody, Carol and Levon, all the people that are here every week to come together with this incredible group that really puts this whole thing together for us. So thank you for doing this. Today we've got a lot to cover. I'm going to get right into it. I will put up the Espavo logo for just a moment while I kind of drop into channel a little bit in case I start snoring or anything. And I'll be right back with the group. They've got some things they want to talk about here today. Espavo, everybody. Oh, one other thing I want to tell you about. We just finished the animal communication class yesterday. It was incredible. It was a couple days of really good new tools and interesting things about that. And the new one that we're going to be starting next month is going to be multidimensional healing. If you're at all interested in multidimensionality, we're going to spend some time talking about that. We're going to explain it in detail. It started out being a 2-day event, but as I was putting everything together, the group said, no, we want a third day. So we put a third day in there. It's now a 3-day event to go through this whole process and show you some very interesting things about things that you are already a part of in different ways. And that's available on the website now. Anyway, with that, I'll leave it for just a couple of moments and be right back. Let's bob everybody.
Steve, I think we're not live yet on YouTube. We have to go back a little bit just to check it.
You're right. It's sparkling, but it's not working. There it is. It's working. It's working. I'm going to have to go back into channel here. Everything's working fine, according to YouTube anyway. Greetings from home, dear ones. We join you this day with great joy, for the planet Earth is moving at an incredible pace right now. And that is one of the things that we want to talk about. You know, for those of you who have been in our classes, especially working with the Light Masters, we wish to tell you that we have been talking for quite some time about some very special beings that are on this planet, that have actually traveled backwards in time to be here at this very critical junction of time-space. And that is you. Many of you have traveled backwards some 300 years to be here at exactly this moment. Now, you may be trying to figure out, how did you time travel? When did you pop in? What was the deal? The reality is you were born here, but you chose to come back and be born into this time frame, specifically to hold the energy for the changes that are ahead. Now, you're seeing massive changes on your planet right now. You're seeing different things take place that you never thought would take place. And we tell you, you have more changes coming. There's many events that are going to be taking place out of the ordinary. The ordinary has changed. The reality is you're going to be moving at the speed of love. which is slightly faster than the speed of light. So with that, let us share with you just a little bit of some of the things to watch for. You also should know that you have parental races that have been working on your planet very carefully to try and accomplish a few things with planet Earth. Now, we've mentioned this before. Yes, there are 174 different races of beings on this planet other than human. But the reality is you have 4 parental races that are working with you right now, that are really trying to work with things. You may notice a while back that some of the things have changed pretty drastically, having to do with some of the energies around nuclear war. And that is because these beings have put a stop to some of it. It has been amazing to see some of the things that have taken place. You may have noticed a while back that there were things that were taking place. Well, it has changed. And the reality is, much of this has been safeguarded in some way. Now, you still are on the planet of free choice. You can still cause great war. You can still cause horrible things to take place on planet Earth, but you are having the assistance of these parental races, particularly 2 of them in particular. So let us tell you a little bit of what they are working with and things that you can see here coming up. Let us explain a little bit of how that's working. The reality is you have things that are going on with the sun. You are in solar cycle 25, you call it. You see, every 11 years, the sun changes its poles and north becomes south and south becomes north, and a whole new solar cycle begins. Well, the solar cycle has been decreasing pretty rapidly. And the reality is solar cycle 25 was supposed to be very, very minimal. It is not. It is taking off. It is taking out quite rapidly in some ways. One of the concerns many of your astrophysicists are having is that the sun is changing very rapidly. It'll start throwing gamma rays at planet Earth in very massive ways. We will tell you, this is actually what caused the great floods some 12,000 years ago. The reality is, even the younger Dryas, all the floods that are mentioned even in your Bible and all the races in different places have talked about the great floods that happened with planet Earth. We can tell you the keeper grew up in St. Louis, Missouri, and when he would dig through the ground, occasionally he would find seashells that should not have been there. The reality is everything has changed on planet Earth in different ways. But what caused that? Well, that was actual gamma rays bursting in from the sun. And we tell you, your parental races have been very concerned about this happening again. And now you are starting to see signs that that is a possibility. One of the things that you can do personally is to become aware of this and to celebrate your togetherness, to come together as beings of hope, to come together in excitement, to take these transitions and turn them into something really positive, which you can do. In fact, it's the reason many of you are here right now. You can change the heart energy of the connectiveness of all of you will have a huge effect on planet Earth. So don't think that this is out of your hands. It is not. On top of that, you're going to see many Earth changes taking place very quickly. You've been seeing them. You call them global warming. You call them all sorts of things. But the reality is, some of the bigger places, even Yellowstone National Park, which happens to be one of the largest volcanoes in the world, has been showing signs of a possible eruption. We tell you it's possible that could cover a huge part of the United States if that were to happen, and it doesn't have to happen. You see, the greatest angels that have ever lived are on the planet. And all you need to do is to stay out of the fear and into the hope, into the possibilities. And with that, you will see different things that are taking place. One of the other aspects that we wish to mention, because this is all happening very quickly right now, is that the magnetism, the magnetosphere of planet Earth is changing. Now we tell you that the magnetics of planet Earth have changed 6 times already. And the reality is, if you look back at your history and geology, you can tell that the magnetic poles of planet Earth have changed. They change roughly every 500,000 years. So every 500,000 years, the planet changes poles. It gets very weak for a time, and then it slowly changes. Sometimes it changed very quickly within a couple of days, but most of the time it changed over a period of a year or longer. What we tell you now is that you're more than 300,000 years overdue for a polar change. And that is, as all these things are taking place simultaneously, you're going through the times of transition. These are the times of change of humanity and the planet. We've mentioned before that you have going through the end of the fourth world. Well, the fifth world is beginning, and that's what we want you to focus on. What would you like to see going forward? You have the opportunities of building something new and exciting. And it can be without the challenges that many of you fear. It can be an easier step than you possibly could have imagined. Yes, you will be going through change. Yes, the planet is going through change. But you also have a lot of help. You have help not only from your parental races, but from many other beings around. For the universe is affected by all of this. Right now, most of the eyes in the universe are on planet Earth. Those that are aware of it. And that's a fascinating point to watch, which is why you are here. So welcome home, dear ones. We're glad you made it. Now, take your spot. Understand that no matter what you were doing, no matter what you think you need to do, you're here at the perfect time to make crystal change, to change the hearts of every aspect of this, and turn these changes into something really positive. This does not have to be negative. It can be an incredible positive change. You can see things that are opening up in huge ways very quickly. Welcome home, dear ones. We're excited that you are here. And with that, we will take some questions.
Hey, Steve. I want to make sure we're streaming on YouTube. Are we?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, we're going to start with the first question that says, "Good morning, all. I love these questions and answers, and I have one for you if it's not too late. Last month, the group said there was something planned for the end of April. Did that happen, or is it yet to come? Thanks ever so much, Lou Misner, New York."
We were speaking at that time about the changes that are going on in your governments. For much of what has taken place is the money has won most of the elections. This is global, not just in the United States. And when we were asked that question, we were also saying that something was planned for the end of April. It just happened. The reality is, if you've watched your stock markets, you know that there's been talk of tariffs going on in the United States, all over the place. And you saw the stock market crash very drastically. Well, now you've seen the opposite take place. So what happens when the stock market crashes? The money jumps in and buys stocks very cheaply, then turns their policy around, and it goes back up, and they make very much money very quickly. That was planned for the end of April, and it's happening right now. You're seeing the stock market come back very strong. In this way, what you're finding is that money is a game made up by humans, and especially the stock market itself. The stock market is a game based on perception of perception of perception, and it can be controlled and is being controlled. It's very easy to see if you look at it from the larger perspective. And that's what was planned for the end of April. Now, we also tell you that much of the economies in different parts of the world are teetering on the edge and have been for a couple of years now. So there's a possibility that much of this control can cause a greater challenge down the road. But we can't predict that because you're on the planet of free choice. And the reality is we can tell you the direction you're going and we can tell you the possibilities ahead. But we also tell you that you have choice. And if you watch this and hold this, because the money is not using their money, they are using your money to do this. It's very simple. Be aware and make your choices accordingly, and things will change. Espavo.
Good afternoon, Steve. My name is Jenny from Greece. My question, the last 26 years, I have worked as a teacher for children with various disabilities. I feel drained and exhausted. Right now, I need a more joyful and creative job. What would that be? What is perfect for my soul and my life? I need to feel grounded and happy.
We tell you, you've done incredible work already. Part of what you've done is to work with the heart and to help with people that need the help the most. And we tell you, you've done an incredible job with this, but with this particular type of work, you have difficulty getting the feedback that you need. You're a teacher. You've come in with incredible gifts to be able to explain things very simply to many different people. But you've been working at a level of vibration that is very difficult for you to see the difference you're making. We tell you, you are making a difference, but like everyone, change is needed. The biggest challenge about this for many people is that you think of all the challenges. Oh, what will happen if I quit my job and I don't have another one lined up? What will happen here if I can't support my family or can't support myself? What will take place with here? And we tell you, you are much more magical than you can imagine. What we tell you is sometimes it's necessary to take the step and figure it out later, because many of those doors will not open until you're actually committed to making a change. But we tell you, you're due. You've paid your dues. You've done quite well in the areas that you've worked with. But you're a teacher, and furthermore, you have an incredible story to tell. Start telling the story. Release the fear. Start moving forward in whatever ways you can. And when the times come, dare to step out and watch what happens. The magic's with you. Espavo.
Hi, Steve, the group, and the team. In your recent email newsletter, you mentioned that the group talked about the fourth world and that humanity is reaching the end of that time. Can you elaborate on that? What does it mean for us? Sincerely, Carolyn from Sao Paulo, Brazil.
There are many aspects that will happen as the fifth world begins. And we tell you that is simply an energy that we can use to describe what is taking place. We've just described many of the changes that are taking place with the earth, the sun, the cosmos, the magnetics around you, all the other aspects of these things. For these reasons, you've had many of your parental races on earth working specifically with the planet to be able to make these changes and to be able to move in this direction. Now, also, these times of change can bring many opportunities, many possibilities, but you have to be aware that you are moving into new energy. What you are seeing right now is things that don't work. Things that have always worked, been very consistent, and suddenly they're not working the same. So how would you rework that? How would you find ways of bringing back the possibility of sharing the power on planet Earth? Well, one of the things we tell you to watch for is the rise of the feminine. Feminine empowerment is going to be absolutely critical during these next steps of planet Earth. It's a balance. It's not that one's going to take over. It's not going to be the male energy is going to fade away. It needs to balance in new ways, and that's underway. Now, the planet itself is also starting to change, and we tell you, you see a lot of things shifting already. Become aware of what's really important, because those are the questions you want to ask yourself. What is really important to you today on planet Earth? And reevaluate whenever you can, because that'll bring you to your highest possibilities. And that will begin the fifth world. It will take some time. It's not going to happen on a specific date. In fact, the Mayans actually predicted the end of the fourth world when the calendar ended on the 12-12-12. And we tell you that is exactly what's taking place. It's also been brought in other religions as well. In Hindi, it's also been a huge cycle that is coming due right at this point. And we tell you many times that is brought along by chaos, by change, by complete loss of control. That does not need to happen now. You're conscious. You're aware. You can take these steps consciously and make them powerful and bring about a new world. Dream and enjoy the ride. Espavo.
Hello, Steve and the team. Is Elon Musk an alien? Thanks, Espavo. Kind regards, Carolyn.
Yes, of course he's an alien, and so are you. You have histories that do not. There is no such thing as an alien in that way. You think of these beings as being out in space and other aspects of this. We tell you, your scientists have recently discovered another planet that can actually support life, and they're very excited about it. But the reality is, they're not going to find life quite the way that you thought, but they're going to find more planets now. It's going to show up over and over and over again. And eventually you will discover other planets that are supporting life in the way that you have. But many of the planets that you're looking for exist in your own time space. You're not just one time frame. You're multidimensional beings, and so is your planet. And that can be very exciting. Many of the parental races that we talk about that are with you now are actually dimensional beings that know how to shift dimensions. If we were to tell you the simplicity of it, it's done through the orthogonal matrix. In other words, it's done at right angles. If you were to go down the road and turn right very quickly, you would find that you could actually shift dimensions. And that's coming to planet Earth and to humans. In the meantime, enjoy the ride and know that you have much that you can do here. Espavo, dear ones.
Hello, all. I've been at this for years. There's stepping stones, it seems, backsliding going in circles, yet I accept that communion with our galactic family is happening. There's really no set way. I plan to live long enough for being there when actually meeting face to face. I smile as the possibilities are beyond me. Pre-pandemic, the ET healing team, through Jackie Salviti, counseled me for years, but that got too expensive. I am supposed to be able to communicate directly, but it's mostly by intuition. I want to thank whoever, whenever I am allowed aboard a ship, as I have been asking permission. Do you all have any suggestions on patience, or what more can I do? Love and peace, Peggy Thomas.
Peggy, you might be very disappointed if you were actually taken upon a ship. It might be less than you had imagined. The reality is these beings are around you all the time. Now let's speak about the more important part of this. How do they speak to you? You're expecting a being to pop up in front of you and speak to you in your language. But they do speak to you in your language, but they come through your imagination centers. You have much about your human brain that you are unaware. You believe you're in charge of every thought that you have, of every action that you take. And it's perfect that you take responsibility for that, because responsibility is the balance of power. And yet, there are many aspects of your brain that you're unaware of. Communication can come in many different ways. So the first thing is to learn to trust that intuition. It's just like playing the piano. You're going to hit some wrong notes. You're going to interpret things incorrectly for a little while until you learn to tune it in. And at that point, you can make some beautiful music in harmony. Ask and you shall receive. There's many ways of channeling and bringing these beings in. They will speak to you if you make space for it. Sometimes it's very difficult because most people do not trust themselves to sit down and begin channeling in front of another person. So you can do some very simple things. Ask a question and write the answer. Just let it flow. There's also non-dominant writing, which works very well. You ask a question with your dominant hand, you put the pen in the other hand, and you scribble out the answer. And even if you can't read it, you get the idea of what it is, and you understand that you have the capabilities of distracting your conscious brain long enough to let the intuition come through and get the answers. You're closer than you think. You do have connections in many places on planet Earth, and you'll find lots of opportunities to do that in the days ahead. Trust it. Enjoy the ride. Espavo.
Hi to the group of 9. Recently, my grandmother passed away at 95 years old. It took her a long time, several days, and even she was wondering why it was taking so long. Several of us in the family were at her side for days. At one point, when she was awake, she said there were two men downstairs waiting to take her, but they were not taking her yet, and she did not know why. Can the group tell me what was happening and why it took so long? Thank you, Elka.
Yes, there are many aspects of this that we can talk about. We will be speaking more about this when we talk about multidimensionality, because that's exactly what happens. We've given you the illustration that there are 12 yous. One of them is your higher self, which connects all the other ones. There's 11 different aspects of you in other dimensional space, some actually on this planet in different ways, and some in other dimensions. And yet, you're all learning different things. You're born at exactly the same instant, and you must leave your bodies at exactly the same instant. What took place here was very simple. You had one of your 11 beings that was hit by a car, having a lot of survival instinct. That being, even though they were elderly, the same as you, the same as your grandmother, he was fighting very hard to stay alive, for she was not expecting to leave. The other 10 were expecting to leave, and that one held things up for a few days. That's what took place. They all must leave at once. You have things on your planet that you call NDEs, near-death experience. In almost all of these, in some way, the person is met by someone and told that it's not time to go, they must go back. That's because the other dimensions are not ready to go. And that's exactly what took place here. The beings that were greeting her were downstairs. They were waiting for her, and they took her with joy. She was also met by her mother. There were many other aspects of her that she was rejoined with, and she found her way across very comfortably. And quite honestly, she's around a lot of you right now. Espavo.
Hello to my favorite group of 9. Many years ago in the 80s, I vacationed in Kauai, Hawaii, and my coincidence was told about a monastery on the island housing a large crystal. My husband and I drove to see it, and I was told in a reading later that this crystal was important in helping to form the planet. And because I was given milk to drink infused with the crystal's vibration, I would have access to the information it holds. Could you elaborate on this? Thank you, Yvonne Jackson.
Yes, there are many of you that have had this experience. The Keeper did an event, a seminar recently. Actually, it's available now at his website free of charge, called Atlantis Rising. In there, he talked specifically about the power crystals of Atlantis. These were one of many crystals on the planet that held the wisdom and the energy of planet Earth, and were absolutely critical in forming the planet to support life. We tell you this because in the mineral kingdom, the crystal is the highest vibration of the mineral kingdom. On planet Earth, the animal kingdom, humans are the highest vibration, and therefore there's this deep connection. We tell you there's much of this energy here, but she is part of the planet and holding a very high vibration of a connection. You have been a guardian of many of these crystals throughout your life in different ways. Some of them are rather small. Some of them are not the large ones that you visited or the power crystal that we talked about in Atlantis. Some of these are really tiny in different ways, but you have been in contact with many of these. Actually, taking that milk that you talked about actually began the process. Why? Was that milk magical? It was magical because you are magical. You reflected your magic in this tradition. And by seeing this crystal and coming in contact with it that way, you were vibrated to a higher state. Well done. Now, carry it forward and tell your story. You have much to talk about. The energy is all around you, just waiting to be grounded. Take a breath, bring it through in whatever ways you can. You've brought it through in many different ways before, but now we tell you, it's time to bring it all through. Enjoy the journey, Espavo.
This is Grace in Wisconsin and a newer member of Light Masters. I remember reading one of your books about how we will be able to have access to a new chakra at the base of our skulls, one that was closed off to us intentionally in the past. Do we finally have access to this type of joy activation in these times of transition? If not, how do we develop this? Thank you. I am eternally grateful for your work and the life wisdom of the group.
Yes, you have access to it. It does need to be activated in each individual. We gave a class not too long ago called the fifth dimensional pineal gland activation. In there, we talked about the base of the skull and that aspect back there that you can feel. You can actually feel the base of your skull. Right below it is a bit of an opening, an energetic opening as well as an opening in your being. You can actually reach in and at some point energetically, you can actually activate your medulla oblongata, which is part of the brain stem. That is one of the areas that gets activated and turning into this new chakra. Now the chakra was closed off. It was closed off early on intentionally. It was unfortunate, but that was part of the history of humanity. And the reality is you're opening it back up. Now we've shown you different ways that you can work with that, including working with a laser, a red laser, between 630 nanohertz and 690 nanohertz. Just basically a red laser in that area can help to go straight through to the medulla oblongata. It lights up the pineal gland. It opens up the chakra. And what it does is gives you the third sight, the new energy sight of the third eye, the new energy in different ways. So this is part of the chakra that we spoke about. Now you'll find this little part of your skull back here called the occipital ridge, and it's basically the bottom of your skull. It is right below that, directly below that. And for most people, it's going to feel wonderful because people tend to carry energy and tension in that area. Massage it often. Massage your friends, massage your children, massage your loved ones in that area. It will help to open up theirs as well as yours. We hope that helps. Espavo.
I am 70 years old and still wondering what I came here to do and if I did any of it. I have always been different from everyone else in my insatiable curiosity to learn about everything, especially about spirituality. I had to teach myself mostly and rarely had a live teacher. My children, friends, and family have no interest in any of this, so I can't share my knowledge with anyone. It's like I'm leading a double life. I feel a deep connection and love for the earth and nature and do everything I can to surround myself with this. But I wonder if I'm missing something. What's the point of learning about all these things if there's nobody to share it with? Thank you, Janice.
That's a very good point. The reality is you're very much of a teacher. You've come in with a wisdom that you're trying to validate through other teachings. Many times you can do that to some degree, and you've spent quite a bit of time taking other classes and looking at different things. But you have a story to tell yourself. And the reality is learning to trust that wisdom, that intuition, that part of yourself to speak that, to become the channel, to ask those questions even of yourself. Takes a lot of energy, but that is exactly where you are. Now, you ask the question, have you done things? When you get home, you're going to see the trail of light that you've left behind you is absolutely amazing. You have not considered yourself as a teacher, but we do. And we see the many lives and the thousands of people it has spread out. It's like a huge spider web. You're at the center. There's a little ring around that center, and you think you've only touched 9 or 10 people, but then the next center out has touched 1,000 and 10,000 and 100,000. And those are planting seeds of light that you have come in with wisdom. Now, you did not feel like you belonged here. You're in a backup plan. This was not your original set of parents. You came in because your time on this planet was critical. And as a result, you jumped into a different backup plan. And you did pretty well. But you're not going to be the teacher to your siblings or your parents. They're of a different vibration. Love them for who they are and let them go. Look for people in your own vibration and dare to step into the wisdom that you hold and speak your truth. Espavo.
Hello. This may be a very strange question. What about the coming back of the Dragon Masters in human form? With the evolution of planet Earth to Terra 5D, are there dragons in human form to help raise the consciousness? Thanks, Barbara.
There are so many different forms that it's difficult to imagine. There are some even of your parental races that look similar in those ways. You've called them reptilians, and there are basically areas of this that have expanded. Then you've been quite afraid of them in many ways because of much of the energies and many sometimes of the science fiction that has been written about them. But the reality is the dragons are here, and they're magical, and they've been here for a very long time. You don't see them in the traditional way. You've never made space for them except in your stories, except in your fiction. You've seen them even come back on television recently. You're going to see them planting seeds in different ways. It's about empowerment, very simple. How can you become empowered? By owning a dragon, very simple. You own several. You have held this energy to be able to do that in different ways. Share it with people. Now, you're asking, will they actually be manifest in front of you? No, not for some time. Not for some time indeed. There's much going on this planet, but they're here, and they've always been here. Make space for them in your life. Make space for that empowerment in your life, and love them, for that's who you are. You're a dragon keeper, and you've known that for some time. Espavo, dear one.
Dear Steve, hopefully the group can enlighten something. I have been hearing from several sources that if we pass, we should not go into the light. If we do, we are trapped again to reincarnate on this planet. Instead, we should dive into the light of our heart. So what happens then? Should we not go into the light? It was always such a comfort knowing we go into the light behind the veil. Thank you so much for clearing this up. With a big hug for you all in gratitude, Carla.
Dear one, you will have teachers that will interpret things in different ways. And it's not one that's right and one that's wrong. What you need to do is find out what works for you. For the light of the heart is huge indeed. But what you're saying is that many of you, most of you here on planet Earth, especially those of you who are light workers, are finding that you are last timers and that you have no intention of coming back to this planet. You've put a lot on your plate as a result. We've talked about those of you who've traveled backwards in time to be here from 300 years in the future, because this is a critical moment right now. And with that, you are certainly one. Now, about the light. The light is huge, and the light is magical. The light is not good, and the darkness is not bad. But we also tell you that there are cycles that you will not be repeating. And it may be that some of the channels that you have been listening to have been interpreting that as light and dark. We do not see it quite that way. We tell you that when you go home and leave the physical body, you will see a light that will fill your soul in new ways. You will not be able to resist it. It will pull your heart and light you up from the inside out. And that's how you know that you are traveling home and that you are moving in that direction, back into unity consciousness. So whatever you decide to call it, it's fine. You will change the cycles from this point. Reincarnation is not needed, but you don't have to worry about stepping into the light or stepping into the darkness, or the difference between the light of your heart and the light around you. We tell you that the light from home is there for you and will guide you home when the time is right. Enjoy the journey and don't fear any of it. You know the way home. Espavo.
Hi, Brother Steve. What is it Spirit wants me to know now as to how I can best benefit humanity? Much heartfelt love and appreciation, Anya Sophia Mann.
What an incredible question. For once you ask that question, you receive the answer instantly. Now, learning to trust it, learning to put it into use, learning to work with it is the difficult part. where you have different aspects that you'll be working with in different ways. But the reality is you've been holding this energy quite well. You are a graceful lady. You have held a full heart full of grace. You've spread that grace on planet Earth in magical ways. To be able to walk on this dense planet in grace is very challenging. And yet you have done this over and over and over again. Now, you may or may not consider yourself a teacher, but we tell you, you've taught many. You've taught people how to walk in this energy. You've taught people how to hold the light in their heart, how to bring that through, and what's important to you. And in that way, dear one, you've touched many hearts already. And you're still here. You're not here asking, what do I need to do to make more money? What do I need to do to make my life more comfortable? You're here asking, what can I do to make a difference? Well done. With that question, you have opened the door already. What do you need to do? Simply step forward into those open doors. You'll find many of them opening in the next 6 months, in your case in particular. Part of this will have to do with family in some ways. Just watch for those opportunities and hold those people close to you that you can. All of you have people that are very close to you. Some of them need reparations in communication. Some of them need different aspects to settle. This is the time to settle those energies, to break those bonds, to break that ceiling, and to simply talk from the heart. You're not trying to convince anybody of anything. You're just trying to tell them that you love them. That will work. Espavo, dear ones.
Dear Steve and the group, I am grateful for this opportunity to touch bases with you again. Question: what is my next step of growth and development? Is there another tool for me to use? Thank you, Kim.
Yes, you'll find several things that are opening up. Number one, you have gifts of being able to bring in something yourself. You have been a healer in a very magical way. And we'll tell you it's a vibrational healer of which we speak. And the interesting part about this is you have actually created something in another lifetime which is being used here today. It's being used by energy healers. And you were part of the original aspect of this. Now, when you first run across it, you'll go, oh, that's old energy. I don't want to do that. And true, you were part of that in the beginning. But there's another level of this that you can bring in. How you discover that? How do you work with that? Well, you learn a technique. You learn something that you feel comfortable with using. And then suddenly you'll reach to start doing something and you'll get a message to move over here. You'll get a message to try something new. These are not messages from other beings. These are messages that you placed in the timeline. These are crystals that you put on your own path. And you run across, they'll light you up, and suddenly you'll realize things that are taking place. Follow those paths and dare to let yourself come out with a new modality which you have been holding. It's time. Enjoy the journey. Espavo.
Dear Steve and the group, I understand that when we pass, the unprocessed energies we are carrying go with us to be worked on in the next life. That makes sense, but I'm thinking of the 11 aspects of a soul and that they would each have a lot of different experiences in their own lives. How do these various belief systems and imbalances get reconciled when all aspects reunite in one soul? Thanks as always, Tracy F.
We tell you, Tracy, that's a fascinating question. And as we mentioned, we will be speaking about that more as we cover multidimensionality coming up next month. But one of the aspects about this is rather interesting. You are perfect beings. You know that deep inside somewhere. And yet you can't reflect it in your one-dimensional area. What is taking place is very simple. Perfection is not allowed on planet Earth. So as you pass through this space that we call the veil, we call it a space, you leave your memories of your previous lives. You leave all the things that you were working on. You leave all those things and you start anew in 11 different dimensions of time space. And in those dimensions of time space, you hold a little bit of perfection in each one of them and a little bit of imperfection. The reality is you are the perfect imperfection of God. That's exactly who you are. So remembering some of that, allowing yourself to make the mistakes, not judging yourself, and stepping into this can be a huge part of this aspect. Now, how does it all reconcile? Well, it's very simple. When you come back through the veil, you bring all of these dimensions together and you share things. We have an exercise that we have given the keeper that he has used in some of his seminars, where people would simply write out the most important life experiences on cards. And they would say, this happened to me at the thing. They didn't have to share it with anybody, but at a certain point, we led them through a dying exercise. And they would put these cards on the floor in front of them. And one by one, they would decide which one they had completed and were complete with and could let go of, and which ones they wanted to carry into the next lifetime. You do that in the veil, but you do it with all 11 dimensions. Because even though you may be missing something here, one of your other dimensions may have mastered that already. And that's why we're going to be working with multidimensional healing, to tap into some of that energy even before you die. We hope that helps a little bit of the understanding. We know that multidimensionality is very difficult for people to understand. Once you grasp a little bit of it, you usually have more questions than answers. But the reality is, that's who you are. Even your sciences know this. They started calling it the multiverse. They're starting to understand the multiple dimensions that exist all around them that you've had no conscious awareness of, but you're seeing it now. And especially that you've discovered inside the atom. In other words, the quantum mechanics of how things work in your sciences. They replicate this. They open those doors, and especially quantum entanglement. New things are happening every day with quantum entanglement. What if we told you you were all entangled? Very simply. And we're going to re-entangle you with your other dimensions of time space. Look forward to it. Enjoy the journey.
Hi, team. What might be the best role I can play to make a worthwhile contribution to the shift in consciousness? Is my focus sound around teaching people how they can navigate this shift? And what would you have me know? And that's from Craig Galloway.
One of the most important difficulties with all of this is the learning to trust yourself. To trust yourself to do the best that you can without being perfect. You are, as we mentioned, a single dimension out of 11. 12 if you count the higher self. And the reality is none of you are perfect. But if you step in that direction and allow yourself to walk alongside your students learning, instead of standing on a pedestal and trying to teach everything, many of you that are holding secrets of wisdom of ages will be able to release this. Humanity can rise very quickly when tapping into this incredible energy that you hold. We asked you some time ago to stop using the capital G when you call it the group, for the very simple reason that we do not wish to stand on a pedestal. We are walking next to you. Yes, we're looking at things from a totally different perspective. And yes, we're thrilled to be able to share that with you. We've been trying to do this for eons of time. You are now able to listen, and that is huge for us. You're able to receive this information. And we ask you not to give your power to it. Don't put us on a pedestal. Don't follow every single word. Let us strike some resonance in your heart so that you can follow your own energy, that you can get your own wisdom, that you can start channeling yourself. That is what we are here for. You are magnificent beings. You're the greatest angels that ever lived. And the best we're going to be able to do ever is to hold the mirror up in front of you to where you can learn to see yourself and trust that energy. So the biggest aspect we ask you to do is to move into a community, whether you create it online, whether you create it in person, however you do it. The reality is when you hold hands, you create miracles. And you, dear one, are a cosmic connector. You can do that very easily. You have a gift with that. Use it. Don't worry about the exact direction or the exact steps. We find it interesting because the way we work with the keeper is to give him information about what we're going to talk about. He then goes online and he pulls all these pictures together and sometimes videos. And as we've mentioned before, sometimes we use those, sometimes we just skip past them. He gets very frustrated when he puts a lot of work into this and we just skip past many of his illustrations that he have used. But without doing that, he feels unprepared. It gives him the opportunity to simply trust the process, to make a space for us to come through and give the best that we can give in this area. Espavo, dear ones, trust that you know the way. There are no footprints in the sand for you to follow. You're creating them yourself, and enjoy it. Know that you're doing a tremendous job. Espavo.
Dear Steve and the group, when I became a mother, I was in emotional and mental turmoil, filled with anger, unresolved emotional traumas, and a great deal of stress. At the time, I knew very little about myself, and I wasn't even aware of the mess within me or what I was doing. Now, my kids are becoming young adults, but I often carry deep shame and regret. I wasn't fully present while they were growing up, and I often feel like I didn't enjoy them as much as I had wished. I also feel that I didn't build a relationship of trust, compassion, and acceptance between us, and that worries me deeply because I don't know if this absence might affect their future relationships. This painful feeling that I wasn't a good mother to these wonderful beings who are my sons weighs heavily on my heart, and I often feel very sad about it. Why do I keep myself from releasing these feelings, and why is it so hard for me to have compassion for myself and the person I used to be? Thank you for your guidance.
We find it wonderful that you're asking this question. We also tell you that most parents feel this to some degree. The reality is your children chose you for this reason. They've learned to be very independent because of this. Now, did you actually slight them in some way? Well, probably in some way. Almost everyone is selfish to some degree. You must understand that almost everything is done for selfish reasons in some way, including having children. So the reality is you wanted to create this wonderful family and you have this vision of what that looked like. What we tell you is you're not done. You're here. You still have opportunities to create this opportunity that you worked with. Now, number one, in the beginning, you were a backup parent. In other words, children that could come in, that needed to be here at exact times, could use you to come in. So especially when you had your first child, you felt very alone. You always dreamed of connecting to that child. You always dreamed of holding your child and having this deep love, and you held this child and didn't have it in the beginning. Do not use guilt. Guilt is an old energy that lived in the third dimension very well, but does not do very well in the fifth dimension. The reality is you're a conscious creator. When you hold these negative, fear-based emotions, you create them. You can create the problems that you fear very quickly. So what we ask you to do is forgive yourself. Just know that you're walking in the highest potential. You would not be asking these questions in the first place if you were not already there. So now, what do? Well, have you shared that exact emotion with your children the same way you have shared it with us? That's the first thing you would do. Tell them that you are afraid that you have slighted them, that you were not there in the way that you wanted to be. And watch the reaction that they give you. And you can talk it out because you can build something now that you couldn't build before. You were not there. You were not energetically on the same vibrational level as your children. One was not better than the other, but you were not in harmony. It was largely because they had to be here at an exact time, and they used you as a vessel. When you're at home on the other side of the veil, preparing to come into planet Earth in an incarnation, you make contracts. And one of those contracts is with a primary parental contract. Not both parents, but one parent. You so much wanted to be that primary parental contract. You've dreamed about that even when you were a child. And it was so disappointing when you came in, when your children came in, and you didn't have that connection. So you've tried, you've done it. But all you need to do is to be human. Allow yourself to make those mistakes, if you call them that. Allow yourself to feel that vacancy that's not there. And express it to your children. Tell them that you feel like you weren't the best parent, that wherever they are now, whatever the situation is. Now we also tell you that you had one child that did not come in through you, and they're looking for you. When you find that child, it will be very special. It may actually be in your own family, it may not. But the reality is you'll connect to that child very quickly, and you'll feel complete to some degree. Share those feelings with your children now. Build something new with your children now. This is the only moment you have. Lose the guilt, because the past is just a memory. And quite honestly, they have different memories of it than you do. If you share those memories together, you'll come to a new understanding of yourself and where you are and what you've done as a parent. You've actually done quite well, considering the circumstances you were in. You know, many mothers have this situation as well. They have something that you call postpartum depression. And some of that is simply a failure to connect to the child once they come in. There's a lot of hormonal imbalances that take place with women when they give birth. They're huge, and sometimes they're unsurmountable and very right off the bat. So allow yourself a little grace. Allow yourself a little forgiveness. Step forward. Speak your concerns to your children and watch what happens. You've done much better than you imagine. Espavo, dear one, we are honored to be in your presence.
Hello, Steve, the group, and everyone involved with this program. I am looking for answers, and maybe you can help. I have been diagnosed with stage 4 cancer, and the doctor said I may have only months to live. Can you suggest any healing method I might try, or any other suggestions you may have? Thanks so much, Janelle from New Zealand.
Janelle, of course, this is a very challenging piece to find out that you are leaving the planet. But we tell you all of you are leaving the planet. It's just a question of when. So we're going to give you some advice that you may not be expecting. And the first thing to do is to accept where you are. Accept that you're leaving. Now, that doesn't mean you have to leave. But what it means is that many people, when they're in a situation where they realize they are dying, they fight for life. They spend every last moment looking for a new modality, looking for some aspect that they can put their power into that will create magic and suddenly turn things around for them. You have this opportunity to do so. But many times the search and the reach for constantly searching for these answers causes you to fail to make the connections that you can make now. We tell you a very magical thing happened to the keeper and his wife before she died. She did not know she was leaving. The keeper did not know she was dying. But 6 months before she passed, they had some very deep conversations. They talked about things that happened to them when they met in high school. They talked about things that happened to them that were misunderstandings from way back. They were able to settle a tremendous amount of energy. That's the first thing to do, to make those connections with people as if you are spending the last moments of your life in the most important ways that you can. That also gives your body the opportunity to release this constant search, this constant energy of looking for something to release to, that allows you to do one of two things. If your body is willing to turn around and your spirit is willing to turn around, then that can happen. But as we've mentioned, dear ones, you are 11 of you. And if all of them are leaving, you're going to be pulled into that process. So do so with grace. Do so the best way that you can to make the connections deeply. The keeper had an aunt that was in a similar situation. She had 1 year to live. She decided to quit her job, to spend all of her money traveling around the world, seeing her family in different ways. And she sat down with many of them, including him, and talked about all these incredible things that took place in her life and shared stories of things of this nature. It was incredible because when she passed easily and effortlessly. It's a natural inborn thing for everyone to fight for life. We tell you to fight for spirit, fight for love. That's really the aspect to bring in. That also gives your physical body the best opportunity to turn things around if it so can do. Oh, we ask you to rethink it. There are many modalities out there. You can try different ones that you pulled in that you want to work with. But the most important thing to do at this point is to make the connections of people that are close to you and talk deep from the heart about things that have gone on in your life. Share as many stories as you can. Share your hopes, your dreams, your fears, all of it. That's what the best you can do as a spirit. And that will allow you to make choices going forward as to what you do from here. Espavo, dear one.
Hi, I am wondering about why I've been feeling supernaturally heavy when walking around for some time now. It's not fun, but I've come to consider that it might be some kind of strength training to prepare for 5D. What do you think of this? And does it mean there's a particular role in Ascension that people dealing with this will play? Please feel free to discuss any tips or other helpful information about this challenge. Thank you, Jessica Miller Alvarez.
You're not the only one that's feeling this. It's almost as if there's an increase in density on planet Earth. Humans are feeling a different challenge. Yes, some of this is about moving into 5D because you have to release some of the density of 3D. And with that, your body naturally fights to stay in the same energy. On top of that, you're also dealing with changing magnetics of planet Earth. Now, you've known for some time that the poles move on planet Earth, right? For the longest time, they were in the North Pole, and now they're actually moved not only through Siberia, but even closer to central Russia. And they're moving very quickly. That causes not only emotional energies, but density. You'll feel changes in your muscle structure. You'll feel changes. Some people will feel a thriving from it, while others feel a heaviness, a density. All of it is in preparation. As in anything, when you carry a weight, that weight ends up being a gift. It does prepare you to carry something else. So bless the gift. Bless that tiredness that sometimes you will feel. Know that there are things you can do to change that, to work with your physical body. There's many aspects of that. We're not going to give you all those answers. They're available in many places. But the reality is you're learning to walk in a new energy. And you're releasing a tremendous amount of density, which your physical body is resisting. It is absolutely natural process to do that. Do not fear it. Just know that things are changing. Know that you're learning to walk in a new way. You know, dear ones, there was a time when you had giants on your planet. You've heard many of these stories before. Some are considered to be conspiracy theories and way out there, but the reality is you've even had them. You've talked about David and Goliath being a giant. You've talked about different aspects of this in different ways. Those were beings that were raised on a different planet with less magnetic pull. Now we talk about magnetism as if it was gravity. They're almost the same, slightly different energies, but the reality is there is a connection. So with that, if you live on a planet with less pull, you become very large, very simple. Your body adjusts for that. Now planet Earth is starting to shift. And some of you that are incredibly sensitive will feel that shift as a difficulty, as more of a burden, as a tiredness even sometimes. Just move through it and know that you're building new muscular structures. You're building new energetic structures to be able to walk in a higher vibration and release the lower vibration of density. Those will work for you. It's not easy, but it is doable, and you can do it. Espavo, thank you for asking.
Hello, Steve and the group. Thank you for reading and answering my questions. I'm a huge fan of your book, Spiritual Psychology. It's my go-to guidebook and has really helped me make sense of a lot of things. But could you please elaborate a little more on the concept of last timers' souls? I feel like I am definitely one of them. Additionally, I'm curious about lightworker fatigue. Why do so many of us feel so drained, disconnected, and burnt out? As always, thank you for all you do. Love and light to you all, East.
You have all gone through different aspects of learning on your planet. Some of you have worked in what you call schools. You go through a school, you learn something, you move to another grade at that point. You keep going until you graduate from that school, and then many times you go into a different school. And then what happens when you go back to the old school? Well, the first thing that happens is generally the room looks much smaller because you've grown. But also, if you were to pick up that energy, you would see how simple it is to you because you've evolved so much. And if you were to be there on a daily basis, you would almost get exhausted by not being challenged because you've already learned certain aspects. The same is true with life. Those of you who are last timers have worked very hard on this planet. You've invested so much in humanity in so many beautiful ways. Many of you are teachers and healers that have been here lifetime after lifetime after lifetime. Many of you are teachers that even found your way into the professional teaching profession only to be dismayed by the challenges around it. And you come in the next lifetime and you say, I'm never going to be a teacher again. I'm never going to do that. And then you end up being a teacher in a different way. But the reality is you're always looking for that next level, that extra process to be able to ignite the new you, because it's really the energy around who you are. Now, planet Earth has been somewhat like a class. It's been somewhat like a lesson in some ways. And you go through different incarnations to pick up things, to evolve. You're not only evolving yourself, but you're evolving everything because you're all connected. So as you do that, there comes a point where you simply go, I need something new. I can't stay in this class anymore. I have to evolve into the next level. And dear ones, there are many levels. We'll tell you that right now. The planet that you're in right now, the condition and the dimension that you're in right now, is the one that is moving. And because of that, many of you have reincarnated, even though you had enough cosmic credits to graduate to the next class. But you were going, no, everything's changing. I have to go back in. I have to be there for people. I have to evolve my work a little further. And you come back in and you end up almost being exhausted because you had to lower your vibration to be here. Very difficult to do that sometimes. And that causes a fatigue. That is what you're talking about. That is the lightworker fatigue that many of you feel. And the reality is you've done incredible things because of it. So first, let us begin by thanking you for carrying that energy. What is a last timer? A last timer is simply someone who's ready to graduate to the next school. You're ready to go to the next level as a spirit, to have a different experience altogether and to lose the density that you've had to carry during this process. Many of you were last timers last time, but you wanted to come back and be here at this very critical junction of change on planet Earth. And here you are. We've told you this was very critical in many ways. It's critical for the planet as well. She's now carrying that magical 8 billion souls that is very weighted and heavy on her. But a lot of this change is taking place right now. You wanted to be here, so we thank you for being here. We honor many of you as Aboriginal healers, those that have carried this energy a very long time. We know, we see you, and we thank you for carrying that density and for being here. You've allowed everything to move at a very quick pace because of it. So with that, that's what a last timer is. And that's part of what you're feeling at this point. Dare to try something new. Dare to allow yourself to be a little selfish. Instead of focusing in all those areas, find your heart's desire at this moment. Try something new. Try something crazy. Try something that doesn't make sense. And see what happens as you reignite your spirit and open new doors that were never even thought of before, because you're carrying a higher vibration. And you're actually paving a way for those that are graduating this level of planet Earth. Espavo, dear ones.
Good day, Steve and the group. I really loved all the info we received during the animal communication course. I would like to ask a personal question about my cat. We recently added Charlie, an 8-year-old cat, to our family of 4 with a cat named Mika. Charlie obviously needs time to adjust to us, our house, and Mika, and he is doing okay. I am experienced in adding new adult cats to our house, and normally I understand cats pretty well, but this time I don't. He loves being touched, but also almost always gives very firm and hurtful love bites, if that's what they are. And one moment he is very at ease asking for hugs, the other moment he is very anxious and runs away from us. Would you please enlighten us with some information about Charlie and what is going on? Is he in physical pain, something to do with his previous owner, just taking his time to adjust? Why is he anxious at times? Why does he bite us? We would love to know more so we can make this transition a bit easier on all of us. Thank you already for your information. Love, Mags.
You did not find Charlie. Charlie found you. And he was been working very hard to do that. Charlie has had a challenging life. He's had wonderful owners previously, so please don't look at them as a problem. But he does have abuse issues in his history. Now, some of this can even be from other cats or other animals around him. For Charlie is very, very sensitive. And he also has a challenge grounding, which is part of the reason that these love bites might be a little rough. And he'll, at the same time that he pulls you in and wants to touch, he will push you away in the same instant. But Charlie found the right place. Now, you're getting used to that. Being able to work with him is great. You're going to find that the love that he brings into your family is tremendous. So keep up the good work. But we also tell you that you're going to need some deep understanding of him. Listen carefully. You're well versed with being able to communicate and interpret him. You are interpreting him correctly. Now, you do need boundaries. And you'll need boundaries to tell him what is appropriate and what is not appropriate. For he does not always know that. He's had his own boundaries crossed many times, especially early in his life. So he's looking for love and yet pushes it away at the same time. It's a very confusing aspect for Charlie. Charlie also has a little bit of what humans would simply call mental illness. It is not severe as it is with many humans. The reality is all of these can be rectified through the spirit. You can work with that in different ways. So that's the aspect. Try to give as much unconditional love as you can here and allow him time to integrate into your family. He will. He may have some challenges with the other cat at this point, but that is absolutely normal and him trying to find his place. They will be great friends in time. Give it the aspect of time to heal and to work with. But Charlie found his rightful owners. Charlie found his way in, and he found exactly what he needed for the rest of his life. Well done. Well done, Charlie, and well done to you. Espavo, dear ones.
Dearest Steve in the group, I loved the animal communication class you just did. I have a question about the 2 cats I have now. Their names are Lord Byron and Sir Percy. They are brothers who were surrendered to animal care and control. They were just over a year old at the time. We've had them for 7 years, and I feel they were meant to come to us. Byron in particular, I have always felt is working into human evolution. I don't know about Percy. I have always wondered about their early life. I know going through the system was tough on them. I would love it if the group could tell me anything about their early life that might have been traumatic, and if there is any assistance I can give them in healing it. With love, Kathy.
You've asked a very important question. The reality is you have rescued these animals in more ways than you can possibly imagine. Yes, you've kept them from being put to death, but more importantly, you've kept them from not being loved. Now, as you mentioned, Percy. Percy has the most abuse issues of the two that you work with. Lord Byron has a little challenge putting up with Percy sometimes because of that. It's the same thing that you would see with a human that has a bad habit and they've learned to move past that bad habit. They have an intolerance for other people that have that habit and display those challenges. The same is true with Lord Byron. Doesn't mean that one's better than the other, but one spirit is older than the other. And we mean that not by age of years, but by age of evolution. So in this way, we tell you there's some interesting aspects. Percy is the child. Percy has been very badly hurt, mostly by his last set of owners. It's been very challenging for him because he loves so much. He gave so much of his heart and then was abandoned. And it was done through different places. We tell you all the circumstances do not make any difference, but he basically lost his connection to Earth. He lost his connection to love, which is what every human needs. They need that connection in different ways. Now, Percy needs touch in a lot of different ways. Humans have the same aspect. Humans have a hormone that is created in their bodies called oxytocin. When you touch another human, when you touch yourselves, or in different ways, you create this beautiful hormone that you need on this planet. Without it, you become incredibly empty inside and very defensive, very argumentative, very challenging in different ways, very hollow inside. Percy has felt that way. Now, Percy also has a young spirit, so he'll be able to come back from it, but he will act out a little bit. Lord Byron, on the other hand, is learning to move into a higher vibration. Now, as you mentioned, is he moving into a human? Since humans are moving from the third dimension into the fifth dimension, are the animals now moving into the third dimension? That's an excellent question. And we tell you it's not quite exactly answerable in that simplicity, but they are moving. They're evolving in a whole different way. The reality is they're not going to have to go through the same challenges that humans did. You've given them a lot by domesticating them, by teaching them, by letting them live in your worlds, by opening your heart to them. And that is huge. Now, both of those animals need touch, and both of them are willing to give that back to you. Use as much of that as you can. Know that Percy's going to act up from time to time, just out of what you would call orneriness. Basically a throwback to some of the challenges that he's experienced in his life. He wants to love, but he's also had that love pulled away very drastically and is hesitant to do so. Very much like many people that have gone through a difficult relationship. They go through a relationship, they put their heart into it. When it doesn't turn out the way they want, they're very hesitant to open up their heart to a new one. Well, they found you, and that's magical. You've done well here with this, and you'll find that you have much of the energy of this, and you've given the perfect example to be able to take both of these animals on two different paths, on two different vibrational levels, and they'll have their own challenges, but they communicate, and they have several things in common that they'll be able to work with. From your perspective, it's all about love. Love and touch, particularly with Percy. You'll find lots of opportunities to open up, but you've already saved their lives multiple times. Well done, dear one. Well done. Espavo.
Hi, Steve. I'm walking against some things that I want to change in my life. Some things are not working for me, like my new bathroom that is taking almost a year to make, some dishwasher problems, or opening a bank account that took 2 hours and got me nowhere. These kind of things have happened so often that I feel reluctant to get something new in my life. It gets me frustrated and a bit angry. Can you shed some light on this? Big hug, Amiel.
Yes, this is a typical challenge of moving into higher vibration. Things that were fairly easy, simple steps, A, B, C, suddenly don't work the same. It's partly because you have moved and your surroundings haven't. And sometimes that becomes a real challenge. You end up focusing all your energy to create something. And the more that you focus that energy to try and do it, the more distractions that show up, the more things that take place that are unexpected in some ways. What we ask you to do is let go of the importance of it. Find something else to focus your energy into. Find some way to fall in love with something else. The reality is it's a cosmic joke about your bathroom. There's a lot of spirits that are laughing hysterically about this whole process. When you get home, you will laugh about it as well. So let go of that now. Take a look at what you're doing and release some of this tension of trying too hard, because that's exactly what's happening. You focus so much energy, you get so razor sharp focused that you're not able to release and let the magic happen around you. You know you're magical. You've created in many different ways. Yes, there are some blind spots in your life, as there are with everyone. Do not measure yourself against other people. Do not measure yourself against the success of the remodeling of your bathroom. Let it go. Just know that it's going to be imperfect for a while, and when things are right, it'll all fall into place, and you'll see why. There's even more energy coming for it. Learn to laugh. Learn to relax. Take a step forward and watch the magic happen. Espavo.
Okay, this is our last questions from the people who sent them in. Hi all, I live in the US and am retired. I'm quite worried about my Social Security being taken away. Can you tell me anything about that? And that comes from Jean Ann.
There are many aspects of playing with money. As we mentioned to you, money has been an important part of everyone's life. Now, you may be in the spiritual realm and think that money is not important to you, but it is. And now, money does not make you successful, but money can make life easier in some ways. Many decisions are made around money on different levels. And we also tell you when people get really wealthy, they tend to want to even make more of it. That's what's happened. And the money has taken over in many areas. Please don't consider it as good or bad, because all of you make decisions in these areas. But what we tell you is you have much more control over this than you think. Now, there are certain aspects that are taking place. Number one, the United States, along with many other countries, created a whole system of being able to take care of their people as they aged. But what they were not anticipating was the baby boom generation, which is now growing older and taking up a lot of that energy. Of course, they did not exactly do what they intended to do, to put that money aside or invest it in some way so that it would be there for them. Instead, they spent it relying on everyone else to contribute to it in order to pay off the current debts. That is not working globally. So there are many aspects that need to be adjusted in different ways. So adjustment is definitely needed in some ways. Now, what we tell you is currently there are many challenges with this. What we tell you is, dear ones, it will not be lost. You will hold on to this in some ways. You may have restrictions to it. You may have it cut down in some ways. But the reality is it will be there and other things will open up for you. You're much more magical than you can imagine. So understand that, again, to vote your energy and to put your energy into something is to know that the people that are controlling the money are using your money. The things that you buy, they're using them. The things that you exchange for your money for. Look where you're going with that money. Choose carefully. Vote with your dollars, your euros, your yen, all the rest of it. Know that you have opportunities of making choices all the time, because when that changes, the money will release its grip on your world and start to look in a different direction. It'll take some time, but do not fear. You will find lots of opportunities to be well taken care of in the places that you are. Now, about Social Security in general. Social Security, Medicaid, Medicare, all the rest of it are taking tremendous amounts of energy. And of course, if they were simply to take some of that energy away from the defense budget, things would balance out pretty quickly. But that doesn't happen until you make your voice heard. So that's the first thing to do. Not only make yourself heard in different ways, but especially where you put your own money and where you spend things and how that works. That's the greatest advice we can give you during these times of change. But change is at hand in different areas. Know that you will not be alone. You will not starve. That will not happen. You're in a great place, and you'll be taken care of. We hope that helps. Espavo.
That's all that I have on my end.
We will move over to George. There we
Okay, Steve. I think we had an issue with the YouTube, so we don't have the live questions right now. So I think we can go back to the group for a final message.
Okay. Absolutely. We do apologize. Once the keeper comes into channel, he cannot use that part of his brain any further. But when he looks at the chat room and everything else, it looks very active from this point. So we're not quite sure where the problem is. But we will tell you that you're doing quite well with things. In the future, if you wish to send your questions ahead of time, it's easier to answer in that way. But we will be taking questions from the chat room as much as possible. In the meantime, know that you're here with a purpose, all of you. You've worked very hard to be here. As we've mentioned, many of you are last timers. Many of you have done that intentionally. Many of you have been last timers last time and even the time before that. And here you are coming back into the classroom, pretending to be a student and having to be frustrated at having to carry this density. But what you don't see is that you've changed the school. You've evolved everything. When you go home, you're going to be applauded like you've never dreamed of. There's going to be such a gracious acceptance of you, because that's the only time that you're going to see that path behind you. All the people that you have touched in different ways, the light that you have put on this planet, the hearts that you've connected with. They're very magical, and you've done quite well with all of this. Know that the energy is here for you, and you've done very well, and there's more to go. Yes, things are changing. Yes, humans do not like change very much. You like the status quo, and you even like going back to the old days, which were not really that wonderful after all. You tend to hide some of the challenges and put them into the present from the past and only remember the good aspects of it. But there's much of this energy that you're working with. You've done quite well with all of this. And we tell you, you are the greatest angels that have ever lived. Dare to walk in grace. Walk with the empowerment that each of you hold. Know that you have it. Even though you don't know where you're going, you're looking for that next step. You're looking for the right direction. Sometimes that direction will not land until your foot's almost ready to hit the ground. But we tell you, you're guided well. You all have angels over your shoulder. You all have guidance from the other side of the veil. From many of even the parental races are here to work with you in different ways. There's much of this aspect. And they'll tell you also that the eyes of the universe are on you. They're watching what you're doing right now. And they're applauding you as much as possible. Yes, there are many changes going on. But you are the greatest angels that have ever lived. And we are very honored to be in your presence. With that, we leave you for the time being. Know that we love you beyond your understanding. We hold that mirror in front of you so that you can see your own magnificence. treat each other with the highest respect. Nurture one another whenever possible. And play well together as you take this next step of life. Espavo, dear ones.